Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Commissioners Court of Hood County, Texas. Today is Tuesday, June the 8th, 2021. It is 9 a.m. We're in the Central Jury Room of the Hood County Justice Center at 1200 West Pearl Street in Granbury, Texas. Today, as always, we have Dr. Bill Miller here from the Hood County Pastoral Council, who has for the last 3 years shepherded and gotten pastors from all over Hood County to come up here every Commissioner's Court and give us an invocation. And today it is Pastor Tim Petty's time with Crossing Place Church. Welcome and thank you for coming, Pastor.
Thank you. Father, we just thank you today for your providence that has given us this republic that we live in. And we just ask that your grace be extended to the business today, to this council. Thank you, Lord, for our county government, local officials, first responders. And we just pray your providence and your blessing over them. And God, today we just ask for wisdom and that you would give it without hesitation and that you would give it in abundance. And Lord, that you would continue to bless this county and these commissioners, their families, the first responders, and all of our Hood County agents. Bless them and their families with your providence. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pledge to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you all. Okay. Is she going? Yep. Okay. This is something that we really like to do here. We have a special presentation, a certificate of great achievement, and I'm going to let, since she lives in Precinct 2, it's going to be the Honorable Commissioner Ron Cotton is going to do the honors today.
Thank you. She actually doesn't live in Precinct 2, but her grandpa does. And her dad. But, yeah, what a great deal. Well, we've got so many great athletes here in Granbury, and we're going to celebrate one today by honoring Mason Lewis with a Certificate of Achievement. And so I'm going to read it, and then we're going to come down here and present it to you, Mason. In recognition of excellence for earning the title of State Champion at the 2020-2021 5A Girls UIL State Golf Tournament held on May 10th and 11th, 2021. We commend you on your hard work, dedication, sportsmanship, and talent. So why don't you come up to the...
Whoa.
So Mason, I think you're going to be your junior year?
Or it's going to be a senior.
You're seeing come out of her junior year. She played in 2 days golf tournament and went through all the qualifications and went down to state. And she was 4 under par for 2 days. Good. She was 16 on the first day and par. This girl got some talent.
Yeah. So who's courting you for college?
Yeah.
Or are you going straight to the pros?
And take your vaccine.
I don't know yet. We're still looking at colleges.
I'm sure they're looking at you.
Oklahoma State.
All right, thank you.
You did. Congratulations. Big honor. Way to go.
That's quite an achievement, I'll tell you. That's really it. Okay. No service awards, Ms. Welborn? Okay. We're going to adjourn right quickly into a public hearing at this time, and it is now 7 after 9, to discuss and take appropriate action regarding the designation of approximately 529.5 acres of land in southeast Hood County as a reinvestment zone under Texas Tax Code 312.401 for the West Camp Ranch Solar Project. So, Ms. Shay Hopkins, please. Good morning.
Morning, Judge. Morning, Commissioners. Okay, so this is the project that you have seen before, and it's coming back around, so we'll address the reinvestment portion first. That is correct. It is 529 acres. You all received the legal description, and it was also sent out in a 30-day notice, and I did not receive any phone calls about the property, and so that will be our first thing that we need to address before we can move on. Do we have any questions, and do you need the paper in which to sign for the reinvestment zone?
Yes, we will.
We will.
I think.
We have it up here.
Okay, just making
Up here
sure.
with about 40 other pieces of paper.
Yeah, exactly.
But we will sign it at the
Okay,
end of
perfect.
the deal today. So is there any further discussion while we're in the public hearing? We've already voted. Well, we're going to go out of the public hearing now, back into the Commissioners Court to discuss and take appropriate action to approve a property tax abatement for approximately 529.5 acres of land in southeast Hood County for the West Camp Ranch Solar Project.
Judge, I'll make the motion to designate the designation of approximately 529.5 acres of land in southeast Hood County as a reinvestment zone under Texas Tax Code 312.401 for the West Camp Ranch Solar Project.
I'll second. Oh, Jack, Commissioner Wilson beat me.
All right, a motion has been made by Commissioner Cotton to designate the 529.5 acres of land in southeast Hood County as a reinvestment zone under Texas Tax Code, and it's been seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I will sign it. We've got it finally done, right?
Well, there's one more piece. I think it's next.
Okay. What else?
The next piece, it will be the abatement, yeah.
Designated, now we got to approve the abatement.
Good. Well, I thought
No, we did that one.
do we have another one down?
C1 and 2.
We've done one, back, go down, back up.
Where is
It
it?
should be after the,
One and two. It's not on mine.
And the reason they're separated is because you have to do the reinvestment zone prior to doing the abatement, so.
Is it on yours?
Yeah, right there. We just did this.
Okay. Okay. All right. Item number 2, C2, is discuss and take appropriate action to approve a property tax abatement for approximately 529.5 acres land in southeast Hood County for the West Camp Ranch
Yes.
Solar Project.
Correct.
Any further discussion?
And the only thing I will say is this is the final agreement. We went ahead and had legal put the final agreement together, so what you'll be signing today is the last thing that you'll have to sign for this project to go through, and we'll be all done with it.
Judge, this is the open portion of it here.
Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, it's approximately a $69 million capital investment into the county. It's under the same terms that we previously discussed. If you have the final agreement with you, it is broken down on page 4.
Right.
Of the final agreement, but this is everything that we discussed. Matt has looked at it, as well as my lawyer, Jeff, who is a abatement specialist. He's looked this over, and everyone signed off on it, including the company. So, I do not know.
Matter of fact, he's on vacation. He told
Left
me.
town, Judge. He left town.
So if anyone has questions.
But the agreements,
Ma'am, did you want to speak on this?
Hi, I'm Tina Brown. I guess I'm late to the
But pull
table.
the microphone to you.
I'm a little late to the table. I didn't know anything about this until I saw it and came today. So where is this property exactly? Southeast Hood County is kind of vague.
Well, you have to go down into Somerville County and turn around and come back to get there. You go down 144 all the way down to Highway 67, make a left, head towards Cleburne. When you get to Highway 199, you turn left, go back north, and it's back up in that
Area.
territory where nothing grows but tumbleweed. So,
So there's nothing on this
There's-
property now?
No.
Nothing at all? No natural water or anything? No
Nope.
creeks? No nothing?
nope,
Okay. So it's not being used for anything right now?
no.
And just so I can add, to create a reinvestment zone, you have to prove that it can't be, that there is no higher and better use for the property. So it has to be something that can't be used for farming, that can't be used for other uses like you're talking about.
Okay. And how many people are you going to be hiring for this project?
During the construction phase, there can be about 100 to 250 people to put it together, but there will only be probably 2 to 3 employees once it's up and running. So it's more about the capital investment of $69 million into the county, which currently they're getting no taxes on the property because it's ag exempt.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Yes, ma'am.
You know that Mr. Mills has looked over everything. He said it was fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
and the abatement schedule's on page 4 of the agreement, if anybody wants to look at that.
Any other questions?
We have the agreement here. We're going to wait until at the end of this, because we've got so much to do.
Yeah, no worries.
Sure that we'll sign all of them.
Okay, sure,
Stick around afterwards, okay?
sure.
Right. Okay. All right, we hadn't voted on this one yet. Okay. Okay. Now, we're back in the Commissioners Court, so do I hear an appropriate motion?
Yes, Judge, I'll make that motion to approve a property tax abatement for approximately 529.5 acres of land in southeast Hood County for the West Camp Ranch Solar Project.
Second.
Second.
A motion been made by Commissioner Cotton to approve the property tax abatement for the 529.5 acres in southeast Hood County for the West Camp Ranch Solar Project, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank y'all.
Good,
Okay.
thanks.
Thank you. Okay, now, today is the second Tuesday of the month, and we have the citizens' comments at large. And let's see how many we have here today. Can they look? Okay, is that? Now, this is where you citizens out here in the audience, you're not addressing anything on the agenda. You get to speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. There's a maximum of 30 minutes total for this.
That's the only one I
And-
see, Judge.
Is this the only one?
Yep, that's the only one I see.
Oh, Dr. Calder, it looks like we're going to have the floor. Now, also pursuant to the rules here, in this phase of it, none of the commissioners nor myself can ask any questions of Dr. Calder nor make any comments about her statement. So anyway, proceed, Dr. Calder.
Thank you for the time to be here today with you. We really appreciate it. There's an old saying we've all heard, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I know that you came to the dance to be part of the solution, and we're proud of you for running for office and serving. I'm here to ask you, to implore you to take more deliberate action to be part of the solution for the greater Hood County area. I grew up in Fort Worth, and in 1955, I started kindergarten and went all through school with two little boys that I remember. The little boy who always sat on my right, little Billy, was one of those kids that is so much fun, makes you laugh all the time, but not a friend you want to sit next to at a serious function. You'd end up in trouble with him. But if you wanted to get out on the playground, he was your guy. The little boy on my left, little Johnny, he was a great kid. We all liked him a lot, but he was serious. He was there to get an A. Little Billy was always, what's the least I can do and get a C in this class? Little Johnny was going to be the best he could be. He had a sense of excellence for whatever reason. If we had a work project, Johnny was your guy. I ran into them both a few years ago at my 50-year high school reunion. At first I thought I was looking at their grandparents, and then I realized, oh no, those men, that is little Billy and little Johnny, now almost 70. And they looked very different on the outside, but still the same on the inside. I'm asking you to be like little Johnny. What's the best you can be for the community, not just what's the least you can do and still get a C. There are several things I mentioned last time I was here, 3 words: planning, collaboration and coordination, and continuity of government. Today, as I speak, we have waste in the streets, sewage, fecal matter in the streets because of lack of planning, lack of collaboration, and lack of continuity of government. And I'm just going to use that as one example. You know, the wastewater project is near and dear to my heart for many reasons. And as we go forward with that, I'm just using this as an example of the need for planning, for collaboration and continuity. Just because you're not required to plan strategically, to have a mission statement, to have priority goals and actions, doesn't mean you're not allowed to. Be like little Johnny. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So 20 years ago, the county commissioners and city came together to start a feasibility study to look at the feasibility to address the rapid explosive growth they predicted for the future. And they went forward with this. The city misrepresents this as the Watershed Protection Plan in their FAQ. It's not. This was the original study that was collaborative and widespread for the entire county. None of you had heard of it until Anita and I presented it to you. I realized 2 of you weren't here, but we went around to most of you in the fall. Out of that, going forward about 7 years, was the Granbury Watershed Protection Plan. And it was in 2010. It was adopted. A lot of our, millions of our dollars of our taxpayers' money and blood, sweat, and tears went into it. It included, on the signature page, you'll see, and some people here were part of it, the Hood County Judge, Andy Rash at the time, Leonard Heathington, Hood County Commissioners Court, TCEQ, Texas Farm Bureau, Brazos River Authority, Senator Kip Averett, State Representative Chet Edwards, City of Granbury, Acton, City of De Cordova, Chamber of Commerce, Granbury Association of Realtors, Luminant Power, Wastewater, Homeowners Associations, Gas and Oil representatives, Brazos River Conservation, Aqua Texas, local agricultural representatives, and many business and industry representatives. I won't name them all. This is planning, collaboration, but continuity of government was lacking. None of you, the city, Chris Kaufman said never heard of it when we presented this to him for the first time last August, never heard of it, and that's obvious. That's obvious from the waste in our fecal matter in our streets this morning. None of you had ever heard of this. Please be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Hood County Development and Compliance Regulations amended August 18th, 2018. I realize they're talking more about septic systems, but clearly it says the Commissioner's Court is responsible. Commissioner's Court of Hood County, Section 1.58, has been delegated the authority to regulate the process pursuant to but not limited to the following statutes. Commissioners of Hood County delegated responsibility under Texas law for overseeing the quality of water resources in the county as impacted by rapid growth and development, and these regulations are necessary to implement such authority. On the website, this board does not exist. Continuity of government. Please be part of the solution, not part of the problem as we go forward and get involved in looking at the infrastructure in a wider area. Although you don't have to, it doesn't mean you're not allowed to. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is Donna Cole.
Good morning, Judge, council members. I'm here to tell you about an event that is coming to this county. It's September the 18th. It's called Jesus Reigns Celebration, and we're calling all individuals, churches, and organizations to be involved in this one-day event, even though some of us give 2 days a week to our God. But this is one day where we're unified as one body. We're always talking about being unified. So this one day, we can be unified, and our county and our state and the United States can come under a glorious... I'm sorry, but I get emotional about this. I get emotional about my Jesus. So we're calling all individuals, churches, and organizations to be involved in this one-day event. As believers of Jesus Christ, we aim to dedicate a special day every year for a unified and collective assembly to exalt the name of Jesus and proclaim that in Him there is hope. This is an event happening now as grassroots beginning in the United States. It's happening in Texas at Amarillo, Houston, and Granbury. Other states is Florida, Maryland, California, Hawaii, Maine, Virginia, and even Washington, D.C. The sole purpose of this event is to lift up the name of Jesus around our world. Be prepared to be awed as the presence of God is manifested among a unified body of Christ, exalting His name only. There will be a parade in any city that wants to participate or be involved. Events like this have been happening for 8 years in the Philippines with great success. The outpouring of the Holy Spirit has been present in an abundance. It has spread throughout all 82 provinces in the Philippines, also happening in Japan, Indonesia, Israel, and now in the United States. You can go to YouTube and view different sites. Jesus Reigns for All Nations, Jesus Reigns U.S. Vision Casting 2019, Jesus Reigns Team and TBN Israel Interview. You can contact the Texas coordinator, which is my pastor, Ronnie Allard, and I've given you the number and the website address. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next is Deborah Sagan.
Good morning, gentlemen. First
Good
of
morning.
all, I would like to tell you that I put down the wrong item. It was 4B instead of 4A. So if you would like me to go sit down and come back later, I'll be glad to do that.
Okay, why don't we do that, because I didn't, you put down 4A, so I thought this is it. Can you tell me what item you're going to talk on?
It was miscellaneous number 3.
So that's D3, I guess?
It was,
That's the Library Advisory Board.
yes,
Library
sir.
Advisory Board?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, let's
back
put
up.
that. yeah,
So would you like me to
We'll get you
sit
back
down?
up and talk on that.
Okay.
On that.
Thank you, sir.
Aaron Sealander. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you? Judge, Commissioners.
This morning I came to kind of put on record or bring back that approximately a year ago, there was a $100,000 agreement with the Chamber of Commerce to bring in new business to the county. And there was a year, I think it was a year, and then you had 90 days to respond with a report. I've not seen a lot of business brought out into the county. I don't know if it's because I'm missing it or what it is, but I'm really looking forward to seeing that report soon as to how much business has been brought into the county with that agreement with the chamber. So basically, that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Two of them, hasn't
You can't speak to it.
Well, Shay, you got you and your Mr. Bonham both, y'all. I know there has been, and there's,
You want me to speak to that? That was on my watch.
that was on your watch. Yes, let's go ahead. Yeah, this is
And I'm
open.
not speaking for the Chamber of Commerce, but the report was made. It was made on time as required by the contract. And I'm sure that with a public records request, it's available. It wasn't printed anywhere, but that report was made in accordance with the contract. And I think it was delivered just prior to Christmas, the end of the year, as required by the contract.
Okay, how many projects were there, Mr. Scott? Do you
I'm sorry?
How many projects were there? Were there any projects that were brought in?
A bunch. And since I'm already up here, unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, I would like to just say there wasn't much fanfare this morning for what I saw as an incredible exercise in economic development. And it happened because we have somebody focusing on economic development. And you guys, you gentlemen, all ask a lot of hard questions. You had a lot of meetings on this solar project. Shay worked very hard putting this together. And to me, it's a win-win. I mean, that property out there, nobody necessarily wants a solar project in their backyard. But if you go out and look at that land out there, as Commissioner Cotton has, it's a great use for it, and it is something that will ultimately probably help our environment. So I'm thrilled and excited for Shay and for the Chamber and for Brian that this is the first pickle out of the jar in economic development, where everybody has worked together and done basically what the lady was speaking about as being part of the solution, and you guys were, and my hat's off to you. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Okay.
And since there was a rebuttal, I'd like to say that I think this should be transparent to the citizens to let them know exactly what our county's doing. I don't think we need to do a FOIA request to find out how much economic growth or whatever's been done in the county. I think it should be a report that may be made public.
We do go into court, don't we? Okay, go ahead, Shay.
Okay, so I can speak much taller. Okay. So, I mean, I hope that everyone realizes just in the last two commissioners' courts that we've approved over $200 million of capital investment for the county. And those are projects that we've probably worked on for the last 8 months. So economic development isn't something that happens overnight. Detailed in that report was also the Built to Last manufacturing project, which invested close to $5 million and also created 30 jobs for the county as well. And so I'm thrilled that the fact that we've had 3 major projects, we've seen more investment than some cities see in 10 years. And so in that report, and I'm happy to make it public, anyone that received it is welcome to share it. Also, there are, in the paper, we do notices every time there is a project coming up. We talk about them once they're approved, but that is when we can talk about them, is once they are approved. So a lot of times, it's not that we aren't being transparent, it's that we're under non-disclosure agreements, so we're telling you absolutely everything that we can tell you until this final approval happens, like the one that happened today.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'm gonna make a suggestion, and not to hurt anybody's feelings or anything else, that we put this on the agenda next time for discussion, because we shouldn't really, with all due respect to everybody, this is not a discussion item today, so we should put it on the agenda for next time and properly notice it and then let's talk about it, okay? Sound all right? I'll put it on myself, so thank you.
The sheriff has just informed me, since we kind of got off schedule here a little bit by allowing, thank you, Mike Scott. I thought you were retired.
You'll never retire.
Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and allow, we have the rule that we started, that there are public participation forms that every citizen must fill out, and you must have it filled out, turn in to the sheriff, who will turn in and give it to the county clerk's representative here, and log them before we get to that agenda item. If you don't have it filled out by then, you lose your turn, because we got to allocate how much time we're going to allow for everybody. But since it's the open deal and we have the time here, Mr. Jarrett was first? Okay. Okay. So, Mr. Jarrett.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Commissioners. This is probably going to surprise you. I am here to say thank you. All of the data that you had in the agenda gives me good information on what you're looking at, what you're voting on, and how it's going to affect the citizens. Thank you. This is a really good job. And I know this group over here did all the work, so let me say thank you to you, too. You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, next is Mr. Mark Lowry.
Judge, Commissioners Court, thank you. I want to thank Sheriff Deeds for walking up and presenting my form late. I apologize for that. My name is Mark Lowry. I'm a resident of Hood County. Been here 7 years. We spoke last Commissioners Court regarding the fire department here. There was a number of my neighbors very passionately came in and spoke on behalf of our efforts to improve the fire department. I just wanted to ask, is there a couple of things? Has there been any workshops or has there been any meetings scheduled since that time to discuss the fire department? Or do you have any meetings or workshops scheduled to address this issue in the near future?
We can't respond to the open questions. None of the commissioners can. We can't answer questions or respond to anything. But you can contact one of the commissioners or me to find out or request us to put an agenda on the docket for the next Commissioners Court.
Very well.
Okay.
One other point I do want to, that came out of the last meeting directed at Commissioner Wilson. You were very dogmatic about the numbers that you threw out that time. You stated that 75% of the fire departments in the United States are volunteer. I think I responded my concerns about numbers. I did some research. The Census Bureau report of 2020, 76% of our communities in the United States are less than 10,000 population. So when we throw out numbers, we have to be very clear so that the people listening and taking in that information can apply those numbers appropriately. But when 76% of the reported Census Bureau is 10,000 citizens or less, in fact, I think 40% are less than 500. So when we start to evaluate whether we should have a full-time fire department or a part-time fire department, we really need to take those numbers and boil them down. One other question I'll submit to the court for their consideration as they move forward. If we had one of those historic buildings in the city of Granbury, 1 or 2 or 3 or a whole city block be destroyed by fire because we couldn't respond in a timely fashion, what is that going to have to do with the immediate future and long-term future of Hood County and the city of Granbury? Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that concludes the comments at large. And I want to remind everybody now that if you want to, any citizen wants to comment on any agenda item, you must fill out a public participation form that Sheriff Deeds has. You will fill it out and hand it to the county clerk, Representative Alicia West here, and get it numbered, and then your name will be called at the appropriate time. So please do that, because we have to do that and enforce that law rigidly. Okay, so that brings us now to the consent agenda. Does any commissioner wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? If not, does any commissioner wish to make a motion?
Judge, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Judge, Commissioner Cotton has made a motion to approve the consent agenda, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, the next business to be discussed, the illustrious Mr. Donald Lenny. Mr. Lenny, I'm glad you got some work for us today. Good.
Good morning, Judge Massengale, Commissioners. Road Operations request opening up a public hearing to discuss and consider the placement of 2 stop signs on Woodmere Trail at Creekview Drive, creating an all-way stop intersection.
Okay, so at this time, at 23 minutes till 10, we're going to adjourn into a public hearing. Yes, sir, Mr. Lenny.
Your Honor, a representative of the Comanche Cove Homeowners Association had approached Hood County of looking at this intersection for the possibility of making it an all-way stop intersection. It has indeed increased in traffic. Woodmere and Creekview are the main thoroughfares through Comanche Cove on that side of the project. And Road Operations does recommend placing these stop signs and creating an all-way stop intersection.
Okay, anybody sign up to speak on this? Okay, nobody? Okay, we're going to now adjourn back into Commissioners Court. And so do I hear a motion regarding this?
I'll make that motion, Judge, to place 2 stop signs on Whittemere Trail and Creekview Drive, creating an all-way stop intersection.
A motion is made by Commissioner Cotton to create an all-way stop at Creekview Drive, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you
Judge.
very much, Mr. Lenny. Okay. All right. Okay, Mr. Clint Head, Development.
Morning, Judge. Morning, Commissioners. The first item we have today to discuss and consider is the corrected final plat of Orchards 13. It is in Precinct 2. This final plat was approved on Commissioners Court January 28, 2020, and was recorded with the county clerk. It was back in front of the court as a corrected final plat to change 2 street names April 28th of 2020. Today is back before the court to renumber the lot numbers to match the internal sequencing of the Property Owners Association maintains. Staff has reviewed the corrected final plat and recommends approval as presented.
Did you get the names right on the streets now?
I sure hope.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Then I'll make the motion, Judge, to approve the following corrected final plat in Orchard 13.
Motion is made by Commissioner Cotton to approve the corrected final plat in Orchard 13.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
This next item was placed on the agenda to consider and discuss and be funded out of Fund 55, a feasibility study for the low water crossing on Vegas Road and Stroud Creek that crosses Stroud Creek in the special flood hazard area because of the great concern Commissioner Andrew has over the area not being accessible during heavy rains. And development has recommended a feasibility study to see if it would be possible to at least put some culverts in the low water crossing to allow access. Since this agenda item was posted, development received information in an email from the engineer concerning this item free of charge. I'd like to read this email to the court. The county's primary engineer email said, "Clint, I took a quick look at it, and I'm estimating the overall watershed to this point on Vegas Trail is around 19 square miles. Stroud Creek has not yet been studied. You're not going to install any number of corrugated metal pipes, culvert pipes, that's going to make a difference. My 5-minute swag would be in the neighborhood of 30,000 cubic feet per second on a 100-year event, maybe 17,000 cubic feet per second on a 5-year event. Best case, you're going to need a 35 by 10 by 6 foot box culvert to pass a 5-year event. This means it would still be a low water crossing. I believe you would be more likely looking at a standard bridge. We can do concepts. My guess is this project is going to be, to design and construction, is going to be probably over $2 million. To put his response in layman terms, a 5-year storm event has a 20% probability that that storm is going to be equal or greater in any given year. And in a 100-year storm event, it has a 1% probability of being equal or greater in any given year. 5-year storm events happen frequently. 100-year storm events do not. These terms can be misinterpreted. Some people think 5 years only happen every 5 years, or they happen every 100 years. That's not the case. There could be multiple 100-year or 5-year storm events in the same year or in consecutive years. To put it in terms of rainfall in an hour for that watershed, a 5-year storm event in this watershed is approximately 2 inches of rain in an hour to get that approximate 17,000 cubic feet per second through that low water crossing. The numbers the engineer stated in his email are based off a quick 5-minute analysis and could be very well increased with a more in-depth analysis, or could decrease. And then you have to meet the floodplain regulations of the local, state, and the Code of Federal Regulations. So at this point, with this new information from the engineer provided free of charge, development does not feel the feasibility study with the approximate cost of $20,000 is feasible and would like to pull this item up from the agenda. Staff is exploring other options and will bring any proposals back before the court at a later date to discuss and consider.
So you're saying that you're pulling this item from the agenda?
Yes, I just wanted everybody to know what was going on, because we're looking at other options.
5 years doesn't mean 5 years.
100 don't mean 100. Everybody thinks it happens every 100 years.
Government can do that, right?
Every 5 years, but I don't know why they call them that. That's just what they call them.
Anybody ask, well, if you pulled it from the agenda, I guess that ends it. Thank you, Mr. Head. Okay. Okay, let's go on next to Ms. Becky Kidd. Line item transfers and budget amendments. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. The first line item transfer is really for Clint. We cut budgets severely last year, and he's out of money. So this is coming from the general contingency. That is a fund that's budgeted for things just like this. So he needs this for anticipated invoices and his contract services for the remainder of the year.
Okay.
The second one, do you want to do these one at a time or all of them at once?
Well, let's do them one at a time, because there's 6
Okay.
of them. Maybe we should do
And
that.
the sheriff has 3, so we will do those all at once, all right, instead of one at a time? If that's
Okay, yes, all right. Okay,
Clint, you have anything to add to this?
No, any questions?
okay. He does need it.
Yes, sir, he does,
Okay.
amongst other things.
Any other discussion from any of the commissioners, or do I hear a motion?
Judge, I make a motion to transfer $6,500 from the contingency general fund and increase contract services.
Second.
A motion been made by Commissioner Andrews to transfer the $6,500 from the general administration into Clint Head's development fund, second by Commissioner Eagle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries 5-0.
The next line item transfer is for the district judge's office. They have really depleted their medical services in line account, and we're moving money from reporters' records into that so that they will have enough funds to take care of invoices for the remainder of this fiscal year.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion to increase medical services. Nope, wrong one. Yeah, another district judge. Medical services and decrease the reporter's records by $3,100.
Do I hear a second to Commissioner Cotton's vote? Second by Commissioner Wilson. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0. Any opposed? I thought I heard everybody, but I wanted to make sure. Motion carries 5-0. All right, next is maintenance.
Mr. Riley's on
Hey.
his way.
Everybody expects Jay Riley to pull everything out of his maintenance, but don't tell me you'll run out of money now.
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, what do you got?
We need to move some money over to capital equipment. I'm needing to install, I need to move over $13,802 out of my budget into capital equipment. We're installing a new water softener at the jail. The one we have no longer works, and it's causing me lots of issues with my dishwasher, my boilers. The water is not that good. There's a lot of lime and scale, and this should take it out. This should solve the problem. I've had very good luck with the one that I installed at Animal Control on the new water heater out there.
Sheriff, do you agree with Jay Riley's?
Yeah, we've had a water softener in there for a number of years, but it's old and wore out. So,
okay.
Yeah, it causes problems with maintenance to everything he just said. And the pipes are 26 years old now, and the cost on those boilers are pretty expensive. So if we don't do this, it's going to end up costing more in the long run. So.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Do I hear a motion?
I move that we move the $13,802 from building maintenance to increase capital equipment to purchase and install the water softener at the LEC.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to move the $13,802 from maintenance capital
Thank you.
equipment, and second by Commissioner Eagle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Sheriff. Okay, now we have 3 from the Sheriff's Office. We can all do these at one time. Is that what you're saying, Becky?
He can explain all of them. And
At one time. Let's do them at one time. Okay. The increased canine expenses.
Yeah, on number 4 then, we've got canines out there that we utilize to help fight crime, but they have to be taken care of and fed and.
I'm sorry, I thought take a bite out of crime.
Take a bite out of crime is what they do, yeah. I think that's patented or something, we can't say that. But anyway.
Okay.
So I'm asking to increase the canine expense, and we're going to take it out of the inmate housing, 2,000, and move it up into that so we can afford to pay the vet bills and feed the canines that we have.
What's your next one there? Increased bonds.
The bonds, that's going to pay for, we've got a lot of people needing to be bonded with notaries. That's what I was trying to think of. Some are coming due, and we're getting other people set up. Seems like we never have enough around when we need them. So we've got them in the jail, dispatch, the clerks, deputies too. We got a lot of people. So we just asked to move that money to $1,000 to increase the bonds.
Okay.
That number 6, we've used money for other things here lately this year for contract services, and now we're going to come up a little bit short. So just to help finish out the year, move out of county inmate housing to $2,000 into contract services.
Okay. So you want to really move money out of inmate housing for dog food for the canines to take a bite out of crime. That's really clever here, Mrs. Kidd. And also to increase bonds so that we can have notaries, and then to, for contract services. Do I hear a motion from the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve the line item transfers for the Sheriff's Office.
I hear a second.
Go ahead.
All right, second by Commissioner Eagle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff. Okay, now, dedicated line item transfers, none?
No, sir, none.
Okay, that brings us to financial. Payment of bills. Ms. Kidd.
This court, the expenditures are $682,087.84. The auditor's office has reviewed all these invoices and does recommend payment. You've also received a list of payments over $10,000, and I'm here to answer any questions you have on those.
Good. Anybody want the county to pay its bills? Do I hear a motion from the commissioner?
I move that we get moved to pay the bills, $682,087.84, at this time.
Second.
Commissioner Wilson has made a motion to pay the invoices, amount of $682,087.84, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Ms. Kidd.
Item number 2, you've all been given a copy of the annual audit. Mr. Wade Whitlow of Kennemer, Masters, and Lunsford is here to explain the findings. And there aren't any.
Okay. Whitlow, did you find Ms. Kidd doing anything wrong?
We did not. We had we have a positive report to bring to the court this morning. I know back in September, a lot of you met with someone that was much prettier and probably a lot easier to talk to. She was the partner in charge of the county, and in between now and then, she had left the firm, or she's left the firm, and she became the county auditor down in Brazoria County. So we had a little bit of a transition as the partner in charge, which is why I'm here today instead of her, just to give you all a little explanation there. With the audit report, we didn't have anything, we didn't have any findings that we're bringing to the court today. I'm not going to go through this entire report, but there is an opinion letter in the report and then 2 other letters that we're issuing alongside the report. In that, the first letter is our opinion letter. The county is receiving an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion. That tells the readers of the financial statements that what they're about to read is materially and factually correct. The other 2 letters in the back are letters that we're required to issue, but we did not have any findings related to those. The first letter is our report on internal control over financial reporting. Now, as auditors, we come in and we look at the control environment of the county. We gather a lot of information and we utilize our work in these areas to formulate our audit procedures. It's a risk-based approach. While we don't offer an opinion on the effectiveness of those internal controls in place, if we identify any deficiencies in those controls, we report those within that letter. We did not have any deficiencies that we're reporting that rose to a level to be included in this letter. The second letter that we're issuing is a letter to the court. And in a nutshell, it talks about how the audit went. Did we have any disagreements with management? Were there any consultations with outside accountants, things of that nature? We don't have anything that we're disclosing in that letter that I need to bring to the attention of the court. It's something that we're required to issue, and that's in there for y'all to read. With this report, they're just going front to back. There's a management's discussion and analysis in the beginning. This has some, and if y'all want me to stop and point out anything, please interrupt me. There's a management's discussion and analysis, and this gives a real summarized overview of the financial highlights and everything that's going on within the county. It's much more reader-friendly. I like to say the further you go back in the report, the more accountants understand it versus people that are just reading it on their own accord. So the management's discussion analysis is very reader-friendly. There are 2 sets of financial statements in here. There's the government-wide financial statements, and this is on the full accrual basis of accounting. So this has all the county's fixed asset, all the debt, the net pension asset, and some other miscellaneous items to get the books on a full accrual basis of accounting. While these are required to be in here, and they do hold value, in my opinion, I don't place as much value on that I do on the second set, which is the fund financials. The fund financial statements break down the general fund, road and bridge fund, and all the various special revenue funds. Behind these financial statements are the notes to the financial statements. Anything that's required by the standards to be included in this audit report for note disclosure is included. There's a lot of information in here, and I'm not going to go over them all, but there's a lot of information in there related to that. After the notes to the financial statements, there's required supplementary information. This includes the budget for general fund, road and bridge fund, as well as some schedules that are required for the pension with TCDRS. We did not identify any issues with budget. Everything was all the expenditures were appropriated properly, so we're not reporting anything negative from a budgeting standpoint. Past the required supplementary information is some supplemental information. These are your combining non-major funds, a lot of the special revenue funds for the county, and then it breaks down the general fund by department for the budget and actual. Once again, did not identify any issues by department within this schedule. Then there are some more budgets related to the non-major special revenue funds that are included. I will say that with this being our first year coming in, there's always a little bit of a culture shock when we come in as auditors the first time. One thing that we do at our firm is we go out to all the departments and we talk to as many people as we can talk to. We walk through transactions at all the various departments, and we do all this to gather as much information as we can so we can run an efficient audit and identify any deficiencies where there could be something lacking, make recommendations to the auditor's office and to the court as needed. I do want to thank Becky and everyone within the county. Everyone's been great to work with this year. You know, there were a few departments where they said, we've never seen auditors come out here. And it's like, well, you'll see us year to year now. So I just want to say thank you. Everyone's allowed us to come in and do our job and get the work done. So with that, I'll wrap up my presentation and take any questions y'all may have.
Has anybody written anything to speak on this? Has anybody out here put in a deal? We have so many requests from him. I just don't want to pass anybody up if you said you wanted to talk about the budget. It's a little bit, so if not, does anybody?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
You're showing on page 26 on the fund balance of total fund balance of $20,598,000 as unassigned. Well, $11,874,000 is unassigned. Where is the comparison to last year and the year before? Is there a comparison from the last 2 years with that?
With the fund financial statements, we don't show comparative figures.
Okay.
But I mean, that's something we could do outside of the audit, is to give you comparables for years past as it relates to categories of fund balance.
Okay, and you got a definition of what unassigned fund balance is in here?
So yes, and that's in note 1 of the financial statements, but unassigned fund balance is essentially, I refer to it as the piggy bank. That's the easiest way I can refer to it as. Those are funds that aren't assigned, committed, or restricted by external sources for how those funds should be spent. So those are funds that don't have any restrictions on how they may be spent.
That was my question, thank you. I may have others later, but.
Well, and I know that it's a lot of information in this report to throw at y'all and expect y'all to fire questions back at me right now. So one thing I always offer up to anyone that I present to is once you've had an opportunity to go through this report and questions come up, please feel free to call me. You know, it's something that's important to the county. It's important to us as auditors to make sure that we're all on the same page with everything that the findings that we have and y'all's financial statements that are being presented here today. So if anything comes up after the meeting that y'all have had an opportunity to go through this, please let me know and we'll discuss it.
Bottom line is you have verified everything that the auditor's office has done, and you have found no discrepancies or errors or irregularities whatsoever.
Right. There's things during the audit process that come up. There's always things that come up that we have discussions on, various improvement opportunities, but nothing. There's nothing through our audit process where that's going to ding you. I have to present this finding to court to let y'all know that, hey, y'all got an issue in this area or that area. Nothing came up from that standpoint.
Okay. So then you recommend that this Commissioner Court approve without reservation the audit report then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I hear an appropriate motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion to approve the annual audit report on county financial statements from Kennemer, Masters, and Lunsford that we've been presented with today, and to accept it.
Seconded? Okay. Motion been made by Commissioner Eagle to accept the annual audit report from Kenner, Masters, and Lunsford, and that has been seconded by Commissioner Wilson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Whitlow, for coming down here today. Okay? All right. Item number 3, acknowledge and accept the 2021 review of Justice of the Peace Precinct 4 financial records. Ms. Kidd.
Judge, Commissioners, our office reviewed the financial records for Dub Gillum's office. We found no issues and ask that you accept the report that we have issued.
Okay. I'll make the motion to accept the 2021 review of the Justice of the Peace Precinct 4.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Cotton to accept the 2021 review of the Justice of the Peace Precinct 4 financial records, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Judge,
Okay.
would it be at all possible to discuss item number 9, as I would like to get on the road, and this looks like it might be a long meeting. I have a conference. It is discuss and take appropriate action on the purchase of a new mass notification system with Everbridge Technology Solutions not to exceed $168,222.03. This is
Yes, we will. We will do that. You have a meeting to go to, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Mr. J. Webster?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us about item number 9 here, the mass notification system?
Currently, we operate under Code Red, which was implemented back in 2005 by Sheriff Deeds on a grant. Since 2005, that contract is renewed every year, and it's just renewed. So over the last couple of years since I've been here, we have started utilizing Code Red to notify our citizens of any communication that we need to, from weather events to the vaccine hub to whatever we need to let them know, Judge, just like you did during letting our employees know. With that being said, as we started using Code Red as it's meant to be used, we're going to owe them approximately about $22,000 additional dollars. Excuse me, on top of the $10,000 that's paid between us and Comanche Peak Power Plant, which puts us at roughly about $30,000. With that being said, Code Red has us limited on what we can and can't do. With the contract expiring June 18th of this month, what I would like to do is switch companies, go with Everbridge, which will allow us a lot more flexibility. And when I say a lot more flexibility internal, not only for the Sheriff's Department and his SWAT team call-outs, but anything that any commissioner wanted to do, the cities wanted to do within their cities, pecan plantation within pecan plantation, we can actually do a lot more flexibility of giving notification to the citizens. So what I'm asking to do is July the 1st, switch to Everbridge utilizing the Fund 101 CARES Act money to get set up to use Everbridge. That amount consists of a 6-year contract or a 6-year agreement to utilize them over the next 6 years and get started with a new process to help our community on communication.
Okay. Is Sheriff Deed still here? Sheriff, do you agree with this, that this would really be a benefit to your office in notifying the citizens, like when the snow Armageddon got to us and
Yes.
with the...
This would be way, way past above and beyond where we've been all these years. I got the code red on a grant, but a number of years ago, we were able to utilize Everbridge with one of the people out of Stephenville when we had them on the SWAT team. And the SWAT commander, he could whip out his phone, put in information and have it out in seconds. Whereas now dispatch, we have to call them and it takes time because they have to go through so many steps. I get asked all the time about, well, how come you didn't set off the sirens? Well, there's no sirens where you live. There's sirens in the 10-mile radius of Comanche Peak, but they don't cover the whole county. So some of the times we've had some incidents, all we could use was code red, or in this case with the future Everbridge. So it'd give us a whole lot more options. In this day and age, we need to get the information out to the citizens as quick as we can, and this will definitely give us those options to get it there quicker and easier ahead of time instead of after the fact. So it'd be a great thing to do this.
Okay.
Hey, in our conversations that you were telling me, this won't be any cost to the citizens once we implement this for the county. Tell us how that works.
So you don't actually have to have your own login and own account set up to get notified. By living in Hood County, Everbridge will notify you whether you have your own account or not. If you choose to have your own account, you can choose what settings you want to have and what notifications you want to receive. If you just want to receive the weather events, that's all you're going to get from the Everbridge and the iPod size. If, for example, in pecan plantation, they need to have a boil water notice just for pecan plantation, then this will allow me to do that boil water notice just for pecan plantations, whereas right now I can't do that. So you don't have to have an account, but if you choose, it'll be real simple, and we're going to, if y'all approve this to be done, we've already got in the works of how we're going to notify the citizens and how we're going to help anybody who needs to sign up. If you want to have your own account, you can set it up, and you can set your own notifications how you choose to be notified, but it does not cost you anything.
Okay, thanks.
This will come from the CARES Act money that we have gotten?
That is correct, sir, yes.
Good.
And Jay, you and I talked about also, just to make it clear for somebody that doesn't know much like me, this is separate and apart from the current radio issues that we've been talking about, going to a trunking system and all that. This is a different deal, right?
That is correct. This is, for clarification to everybody in the room, this is how the National Weather Service notifies any citizen through iPaws or your EAS or WAS messaging, along with, if you don't need to send out that severe weather alert, but you need to send out something in your precinct, then it would go through the Everbridge side just on their cell phones or their text or email to let them know what's going on. Has nothing to do with two-way radio communication.
Good deal. Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
Judge, I'll make the motion to approve the purchase of the mass notification system with Everbridge PSI Technology Solutions not to exceed $168,222.03.
Second?
Second it.
Okay, a motion been made by Commissioner Cotton to approve the purchase of the mass notification system with Everbridge, second by Commissioner Wilson. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Jay Webster. Thank you, Commissioner, Sheriff Deeds. Thank
Yes,
you,
sir. Just want to let you know, too, this is important that at 10:30, gate number 3 at PK will be shut, so we're not going to make gate 4. We'll only have 2 after 10:30.
So it's not going to flood anybody here?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. All right. This brings us then to item number 1, D1. Is Mr. Riley still here? Consider and take appropriate action regarding the paving of the historic courthouse parking lot. I saw where the illustrious Mr. Donald Lenny said he does everything about paving except he doesn't do parking lots. Don't do windows either, do you, Donald? Doesn't do windows or parking lots. So anyway, what have you, I saw the memo that Chad Jordan put about the 180 holes in the parking lot. I didn't know that, but.
Well, I didn't realize it either, and Donald did a fine job of smoothing it out. If we do pave it, I have some concerns that I don't have information for you on yet. We've got a lot of, that's got the heat source water pumps for your air conditioning. So what that does is there's a lot of wells underneath that parking lot. And all that water comes in there, and basically what that does, to simplify it, I had to learn because I'd never seen one before, but that water and all them wells that's being comes out from under the parking lot goes through, and that takes the place of an outside condenser. So that's why we have air conditioning at the historic courthouse, but we don't have all the units sitting around outside. So I'm not a paver, don't know anything about it, but if, and Donald could probably answer this, if they were going to repave it, they would probably want to take up what's there. I don't know.
We're going to need to pull this and do some research before we can go to anything else.
Yes, sir, and I've done
with summer coming, we're June.
Yeah, and you know, with July 4th, we sure don't want to do anything, so I need to do more research. I haven't been able to find a plat that shows the wells under the asphalt that's currently there. I've been told that it's this elaborate water system underneath the asphalt. I don't know. I don't have any documentation. I'm searching. The folks that were here when that was done remembers there was a lot of construction and there was no asphalt around the square, and they were drilling these wells to pull the water up and put it back in the ground.
Are there any blueprints around that shows the schematics of all these wells underneath the parking lots? Does anybody?
Back then, I seen it, but I was actually looking myself.
Okay, well, since I put it on, and since you've given me that explanation, and since I don't want to be in that building when there's no air conditioning again coming up in July, I'm going to pull that off, and we're going to take a look at it and see what it would take.
Yes, sir.
To do that, because we may be kicking the hornet's nest here.
I don't know.
Okay. That's good enough for me. If you don't know, I'm pretty sure that none of us up here know. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that off, and we will get together and discuss it later. I think the first thing we need to do is try to find those blueprints of what's underneath, and then maybe give it to somebody that does it, some sort of an engineer.
Yeah.
Talk about a feasibility study, maybe. I don't know, but I'm pulling that off. Thanks for that explanation. Thank you, Mr. Riley.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to pull item number 1. Okay, item number 2, discuss and take appropriate action to close the library on Saturday, July 3rd for the holiday weekend. Is there anybody here from the library?
Judge, I thought Cookie was going to be here, but I don't see her in the audience. But Jennifer come and talked to me about this, or I talked to Jennifer about it, that on the weekend, I think they only stay open for a short period of time. And what she's afraid of with that 4th of July holiday, the parking is going to be a premium, and probably there's going to be a lot of people parking at the library, and you can't even get into it because of all the activities going on. So on Saturday, Jennifer has asked to put a notice out and close the library on that Saturday, July 3rd, to let people, that way they can use the parking lot, and there's probably not going to be people going to the library anyway during that celebration. So that's the reason she's asked to do that. Those are part-time people that work on Saturdays, and they can make up their time at some other time. So I told her I'd put it on the court to discuss it and see if anybody had any problem with closing the library and putting notice out in the paper and letting everybody know that the library will be closed on July 3rd.
Has anybody signed up to speak on that item? I didn't see anything either. I just wanted to make sure. I think Jennifer's doing a wonderful job running the library. I think we should follow her lead in that regard, and it's only like 3 or 4 hours that's open that day, and it would be a real parking. They're parking everywhere, so do I hear a promotion?
I'll make the motion then to close the county library on Saturday, July 3rd for the holiday weekend.
Second.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Cotton to close the library on Saturday, July 3rd for the holiday weekend, second by Commissioner Eagle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries 5-0. Okay, next, discuss and take appropriate action to deliberate the feasibility and possible dissolution regarding personnel matters affecting the Library Advisory Board may go into executive session under the Texas Government Code 551.0745.
Judge, I put this on the agenda. I'm not so sure we really need to go into executive session, but I put there just in case there was issues that we needed to talk about personnel. What this is about is looking at the feasibility of the Library Advisory Board. As a commissioner, I can't go and poll or talk to the other commissioners unless we do it in a public forum. So that's why I put it on the agenda to discuss it and let the people and anybody that has a concern one way or the other, whether or not we should continue with the Library Advisory Board. My comments here are that, the Library Advisory Board, I think when they were developing the addition or the movement of the library to a different location, possibly they had some involvement with that, but things are running so smooth at the library now, I'm just questioning whether or not that Library Advisory Board is really something that's needed. We have two organizations. One's called the Library Foundation that helps the library with fundraising and working with the library director, and also we have the Friends of Library, who also, as you know, has their own little store that sells books and creates money for the library. So that's why I put it on the agenda, and it's open for discussion or any of the board members, and I see we do have some people signed up to talk on that from the audience.
So people that have signed up, number one is David Wells. Mr. Wells.
Commissioners, Judge, I'm David Wells. I've lived in Hood County since 2007. I got a call one day and said, would you like to be on the Library Expansion Board? That was 2012. And under the leadership of Dominique Inge, we worked for 6 years to expand the library. Finally got the commissioners to vote on it. Then I spent the next 3 years working with the Library Foundation, of which I am now treasurer, to raise over $500,000 to fund the construction and expansion of the library. In addition to all that, I spent 6 years on the Library Advisory Board, and I was a chairman of that board when we had the great controversy of the book issue, which everybody's familiar with. That board met and supported the librarian's position to not move the books from the library, as did the county attorney, as did the court, 5-0. But from that day, the Library Advisory Board became a focal point of agendas, people wanting to have a say that maybe not, there's a conflict. And we've been at a point for the last couple of years of every commissioner's court, there's another issue related to membership on that board. You've got another one today. So I looked at that and I was asked, do we need a board? Well, I looked at 3 things. Is it required? Is it necessary? There's a difference. And does it benefit the public? First, as far as I know, and I know about as much about it as anybody, there's no requirement. It's a particularly voluntary thing. It works under the county commissioners or the governing authority, as they call it, of any library that wants to have a library advisory board. Is it necessary? Well, the functions of that library board are to advise the librarian, to advise the court, to lobby for funding, to work on things. It does not have any authority. It does not hire, fire, tell the librarian what books to hold, what books to get rid of. It has no jurisdiction over personnel or budget or anything else. It's strictly a library advisory. Is it benefiting the public? Right now, the librarian has, well, let me back up. Is it necessary? Those functions I just mentioned that the Library Advisory Board is supposed to do is being done basically by the Friends of the Library. By the way, that is the best Friends of the Library I've ever seen. I go to every library I ever get a chance to go to, I check it out, and ours is far above, head and shoulders above. There's a lot of dedicated people spend a lot of time. The Library Foundation, which raised that $500,000, is certainly involved in the budgeting or raising money to support the library. So, is it beneficial to the public? I would say that right now it's become a lightning rod. It's lost its sense of purpose and what it's there for. It has not become, it's way beyond the purpose for which it was designed. And I recommend to the Commissioners Court that the best course of action that you could take right now would be just to dissolve the board, let the librarian, who's an extremely good librarian, she knows what she's doing. She can seek counsel from the foundation, from the Friends of the Library, from any citizens. And if you ever needed a formal aspect to support the library, as we did for the Library Expansion Committee appointed by this court, to examine the library and to put it, you can always put one in place. It's not necessary to keep it. So my recommendation just to dissolve the board, remove a hot-ish topic issue that it's not contributing to either the library or to this community. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, David Wells. Okay, number 2, Deborah Sagan.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. Gentlemen, I provided you with the Commissioners Court with a copy of my original presentation. That what I did was I outlined the comparison of the Hood County Library Advisory Board and the Weatherford Public Library Board. I outlined a comparison between somewhat like library systems and pointed to the redundancies and lack of economies of scale in Hood County. I also noted a truly robust San Antonio Public Library Foundation Advisory Board, who has accrued $38 million in sponsorship and donations through ongoing Library Advisory Board programs. I have given you this cursory analysis regarding these redundancies, inefficiencies, and lack of economy of scales in our own lab for your deliberation. However, that is not the data I would like to address to the Commissioners Court. Last afternoon, I witnessed an appalling display of behavior that was rude, impolite, and totally unacceptable from a group of volunteers who are supposed to be acting in the best interest of the Hood County Library, the citizens of Hood County, and Hood County itself. The group should have been able to come together, united, when faced with a dilemma at a meeting called by the presumed outgoing chair, who was absent from the meeting without explanation. The absentee outgoing chair was supposed to preside over and usher in a new group of members, the chair and vice chair. Instead, the group was confronted with members who could not even follow the lab bylaws, which cite Robert's Rules of Order, and instead talked over, continued to disrupt, and present a impolite, unmannerly, disruptive persona to all present. The lack of concern for the mission of the Hood County Library, the citizens, and Hood County itself was on full display. Regardless of any analysis, does the Commissioners Court believe it is in the best interest of the citizens and Hood County to continue this board? Personally, I believe there are 3 options: disband, restructure, or do nothing. Gentlemen, I leave the decision in your hands. Thank you very much for your time.
Next, we have Daniel Peters. Mr. Peters?
So I have something on my phone, a video, actually from that meeting, and I didn't prepare ahead of time because I didn't know how this was going to go, but I can enter it in later. We can figure something out, but I have a video from the outside of that meeting that Ms. Sagan spoke about being disorderly, involving that commissioner and the sheriff. So as far as the disorderliness that happened at that meeting, this commissioner, there is a bylaw specifically that was put in 2 years ago of the Library Advisory Board because this commissioner comes in and talks over and yells at people. And I want to dispute the description of that a group of volunteers presented some persona. If there's a persona that's presented at the Library Advisory Board that's disruptive, that has to be dealt with, where someone bullies and attempts to try and dominate the proceedings, it's for Commissioner Eagle. And this can be testified in court, can be testified by past members of the Library Advisory Board. And Commissioner Eagle actually threatened to call the sheriff on me at the Library Advisory Board at this meeting, because I responded to him while he was talking over people and doing exactly what the last witness talked about. Threatened to call the sheriff on me. Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, for the record, if I was acting disorderly and you actually cared about that, you thought that was real, that was important, the police station is, how far away is it, Sheriff? 50 yards? Maybe 50 yards. You texted the sheriff, and then you lied about it when we went outside and tried to play it off like that wasn't what happened. I can FOIA your phone for that if I have to. I don't know how I feel about this, because I fought long and hard to keep you from controlling the library, which is exactly what you wrote into office to do and what you're still doing to this day. I think if dissolving it focuses attention solely on you, and we can deal with you legally, if necessary, when you try and censor these books again, then maybe that is the best course, and maybe we should dissolve the Library Advisory Board. I don't know. I trust David Wells and I trust Harold Granick. They've been fighting these battles for years. Oh, and if you want to shrug and talk about trust, we can talk about people here in this community who are involved in elected positions, who have some pretty questionable ties, membership in organizations that I think are actually declared terrorist groups, important positions in the. You have threatened people, and you tried to use the violence of the state on me. And to Sheriff Steed's credit, he was honest about it, and the video will back him up. So is his lieutenant. If we want to present an image of taking over the library, that is Commissioner David Eagle. It is the position of a far-right faction of the Republican Party of Hood County. And so far, it's been stymied. I mean, we're 6 years now, still ongoing. That's all I have to say, gentlemen.
Mr. Peters, next we have Dr. Harold Granick.
Thank you, Commissioners and Judge, or reverse order. I'd like to start this with, long time ago, Moses brought some tablets down from the, on Mount Sinai. And there were people who were impatient waiting for that to occur. And they distributed their gold to form a golden calf. And when Moses brought down the tablets and the first of those commandments from what is thought to be the first lawyer, said, "Thou shalt have no graven images before me. There should be no other God." I find that over the last 6 years that I've been involved with the court, there's been a tendency to try to make the Library Advisory Board in the image of one person and his supporters, and also the election administrator. And Moses and his brother Aaron destroyed the golden calf. And although the Library Advisory Board, I think, has done a wonderful job over the 6 years I've been here and been involved with the library, and I've only been involved with the board for 3 years, but I think that it's been a political football, and it's been damaged. 2 years ago, or somewhere between 1 and 2 years ago, the Republican Executive Committee presented a resolution via one of our commissioners attacking the Library Advisory Board that was scurrilous and not well-founded. But also note that during the expansion, the Republican Executive Committee contributed, by my estimate, a total of $10 to the expansion, while the Library Advisory Board and the Library Foundation Board contributed in excess of $35,000 in personal contributions that allowed the naming of one of the rooms. There's been manipulation on how many members there should be on the board, elevating it to 13 at one point, trying to reduce it to 9. That appeared to be a manipulation on who was on it. On the most recent nominations for the board, I had a discussion with Commissioner Eagle at the Library Advisory Board on May 17th, where he said that all the appointees had 3-year terms. I disputed that, and it would be in disputation of the bylaws. And this goes on and on. So at the moment, we had a meeting on May 17th. We elected the Library Advisory Board elected a secretary. There was a tie vote on that was successful. There was a tie vote on electing a chairman and a vice chairman, 6-6, and so we do not have a chairman or vice chairman. There was an attempt to solicit a vote of a member who was not there, and that would be in violation of the bylaws. So we had a supposed meeting yesterday, but there was no notification of that meeting. There was no agenda publication, and so the meeting was did not take place. There was no chair. Our chairman was not there from the previous year. And remember that the Library Advisory Board essentially has not met for the whole last year. So it has served a great function, but it's taken up a great amount of time of this Commissioner's Court. I support dissolving the Library Advisory Board, avoiding it becoming a golden calf, and follow the example of Moses and Aaron, and burying this so the court can proceed on with the good business it does. And I think the majority, if not all the commissioners, have the integrity and the good conscience to do what's best for the community, and other avenues can take up that chore. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay, Mr. Jarrett. That's the last one.
Thank you. Thank you. I am going to show the diversity that we had on that board. And I'm going to I looked at this from a business perspective. I've experience on for-profit boards, college boards, economic development boards, and advisory boards. The purpose of these boards is to excuse me, provide strategic direction, assist in major projects, fundraising, and represent the entity to the public. And in many cases, the board is the public-facing representative. The board is not there to manage the business. We have good, talented, and dedicated people who have these responsibilities. And when these activities described above are no longer needed and are better handled by professional staff, it's time to get out of their way. The building, it's done. Very good. Fundraising, we have other entities that can do that. I think it's very good. Professional staff, absolutely. We have a wonderful professional staff there. I recommend we get out of the way, get the library board out of the way, out of your hair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jerry. That's all I have in public participation forum. Did I overlook anyone that wanted to speak on this topic? Okay, good. Does any commissioner have anything they wish to add? Do I hear a motion from any of the commissioners regarding the Library Advisory Board?
Judge, I put it on there. I'll make the motion then to make the motion to dissolve the Library Advisory Board effective immediately.
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Cotton to dissolve the Library Advisory Board, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Item number 4, authorize a county judge to sign the City of Granbury's event application approving the application allowing the use of the square parking lot for the Great Race Weekend. Does anybody, I don't see anything that anybody has signed a public participation form to speak on this. I have, it's attached in here. I think this is a good deal. They're going to have the Great Race come here for Father's Day weekend. It's going to bring a lot of notoriety here to Granbury. It's one of the strategic places that this race is going to be here, and I'm certainly going to go out there and watch it. And I think the diagram that's in everybody's booklet shows what is going to be done. And I'm, for one, say I would like to make a motion that we approve the City of Granbury's event application allowing the use of the square parking lot for the Great Race Weekend. Do I hear a second?
Second. Go ahead. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay.
Cotton. Yeah.
All 4 commissioners second that motion. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank y'all. It's going to be something great. Okay, item number 5, discuss and take appropriate action to extend the deadline to Friday, July 18, 2021 at 4 p.m. to receive applications for board member to serve 4-year term on the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District. I think, is this these two?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, is Tina Brown here? Tina Brown? I think she left, okay. Ray Lewis? Ray Lewis. Mr. Lewis. Good morning, sir.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity, and I can't be remiss in saying that as the grandfather of Mason Lewis, it's ironic that I'm here on the same day that she came and made us very proud. And if anybody's ever played golf with me, they would know she did not get the skill from me. She got it from her grandmother.
Well, hey. That's excellent. I'm excellent.
She was also
it takes a brave man to admit that.
Well, she also was awarded the Coaches Award for 5A and 6A for all of the state of Texas Golf Athlete of the Year, just within the last week. And so it's really an honor to what she's brought to Granbury. They moved here from Arlington recently, and we're glad to have them close by, and they're sure helping the community.
Well,
Thank you all for the award, by the way.
I'm not sure about you being here, but I'm sure glad that your wife and that your granddaughter came here, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Back to the moment. I'm here to speak, and I rise today to speak in support of Bridget English for Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District Board. I'm speaking only for myself, although I am currently the president of the board of AMUD. I have a background of chemical engineering, AMUD, and the BRPUA, which is the water treatment plant boards. I've been on the board of Pecan Plantation, founder and past president of some association in Washington, D.C. that now has gone worldwide and is one of the larger ones. So I understand what it takes to bring a consensus of people together and have an informed decision. I've watched Richard as the general manager over the last several years. His institutional memory has proven invaluable to me as I learned what was required to be on the board of a local water district. His leadership skills, his work ethic, all are second to none, and I've been proud to work with and through him. His knowledge, though, is critical, and I think that's important. Understanding the water district's regulations, requirements, public perceptions, are things that you come from experience. Now, we have various political and economic interests, such as landowners, developers, oil interests, etc., are now on the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District. A broad variety of interests, and that's good. And I want to encourage that. But please do not remove the one current member that understands the needs of Hood County public utility customers. He's worked at Granbury Utility, he's now at AMUD Utility. He understands what it takes to supply water to the citizens of Hood County. It's not easy. We're probably not going to get to drill any more wells. We have historic use for the ones we have, but that only allows us to take it if the water's there. You can't make it in those wells. So the water we currently get comes from the salt flats of Possum Kingdom. We have to treat it. It's expensive. We're currently expanding the joint venture between us and Johnson County to raise the capacity to treat the water there because the wells are not adequate. If they get diminished, they're going to be less adequate. By definition, we are going to be dependent on surface water in the future. We're actually looking to expand that plant even further. So the trade-off between groundwater and surface water has played out by science. Groundwater is not going to be adequate. We are going to have to do it with surface water, but protecting the groundwater resources we currently have so they will be available for people who have historically used it and reduce the very expensive cost to treat surface water is imperative. Please preserve that broad board that has all of the public interest on that board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Does anybody else sign up to speak on this issue? Okay. All right. Do I hear a motion?
I think we're on agenda item 5, right? Correct. So I put this on the agenda discuss and take appropriate action to extend the deadline to receive applications until Friday, June the 18th at 4 p.m., where we can get this on the next court. And I've been very involved in the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District issues since I got on this court. And just to give it by way of background material for those who may not understand, the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District consists of 4 counties. You've got Montague on the north end, and then Wise County headed south. Parker County and Hood County is the southernmost county within the district. And according to the local district rules, each county is charged with the duty of appointing 2 members on the board for a total of 8 members on the board. Hood County appoints 2, and every other county appoints 2 each. And those appointments are for 2-year staggered terms. 2 years ago, we appointed a member, and now we're up for another appointment. And I just want to, the reason I'm asking to extend this is, first of all, we had a shortened period for applications this year. 2 years ago, we received notification from Mr. Doug Shaw, the general manager of the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District, that we needed to appoint a position, and we received that letter April the 2nd. And with COVID and everything else going on, we didn't receive the notification from Mr. Shaw until the end of April, April 28th. So in order to try to make a June 1st appointment, we had to shorten our window of taking applications, because 2 years ago we had 30 days, we were out there for 30 days. Last Commissioners Court, Mr. English informed us when he came to the podium that one of the other applicants who applied was disqualified because he serves on another board, AMUD, same board you're the president of, right? And that kind of, I'm an attorney by trade, and the board is a non-paid position, and same thing happened with our county attorney. We didn't realize that that particular non-paid position could have a conflict. So we tabled that issue, and it turns out that Mr. English was correct. The statute, the water code does say that a board member cannot serve on another board. And so one of our applicants at that time was disqualified under Water Code Chapter 36. And I asked Mr. English, and this is no dispersion of Mr. English at all, but it seemed interesting to me that a non-paid board member on AMUD is disqualified to serve on the Upper Trinity, but the general manager of AMUD is not disqualified. To me, there's an inherent conflict there. And I felt that way when I first got on the Commissioners Court. And so it's nothing, no aspersion at all on Mr. English. It's just an apparent conflict. Now, when I was in law school, they taught us that if it doesn't look right, maybe you ought not do it. And to be on the board that regulates groundwater in the entire 4-county district, and also be the general manager for one part of that segment, to me, is a built-in conflict. And actually, I'm going to pass this down. Mr. English actually filed a conflict of interest statement with the Upper Trinity just about 3 weeks ago, because he can't vote on a particular issue or even be involved in it because there's a conflict between what they had on the agenda and the AMUD. So, to me, we can't ignore that there's conflicts of interest there that can arise by being the general manager of AMUD and also applying to stay on the board. And I know that Mr. English has done a great job. No. But if you look at the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District bylaws, conflicts of interest 2.6, it says directors shall, pursuant to the provisions of chapters 171 and 176, local government code and the current district code of ethics disclose any conflict of interest with matters before the board. Execute and file the appropriate disclosure affidavits and refrain from any participation or discussion related to such matters. And I've just passed down that affidavit, one of those affidavits. I don't know if there's others that were filed previous to this one. But there's also a conflicts provision. Well, there's conflicts provisions in Local Government Code 171, 176, and the Water Code. So, Mr. Shaw, as we speak to this date, Mr. Doug Shaw, the general manager, is conducting research to see if there's any other conflicts that have been filed in the last 8 years, because Mr. English has been on the board for 8 years, and we appreciate his service absolutely. You've done a great job, and we thank you for that. But we have recently received another application for the board, and so my agenda item is merely to extend the time to take applications for another 10 days, number one. I don't think that's unreasonable. And according to their bylaws, there's no vacancy right now, because until a new member is qualified, the current member, as he sits, is on the board. So my suggestion is, and basically I'll make the motion based on all the above, since the seat is not vacant right now, and since there's no, the first time that the Upper Trinity has met in person was in May last month. They've got another meeting this coming Monday, and then the next meeting won't be till July. So if we extend the period for a few days, cut it off in 10 days, and we receive some other applications or not, we have one that has come in, then at least we've got an option to choose. So my motion will be to extend the period to accept applications for the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District until June 18th, 2021 at 4 p.m.
I have something that I wish to say, a discussion about this, in that Mr. English did call me and talk to me about the fact that he's the one that brought up the fact that Mr. Val Vernon could not serve on two different water boards. And because I thought, from my perspective of sitting up here, it kind of bothered me that Mr. English, I first thought, my perception was, until he clarified this, and I want you to speak to this, is that my deal was, why didn't you bring it up a long time ago when Val Vernon first applied to be a board member on the Upper Trinity Conservation Board? And his response to me was quite clear, and I appreciated that, and it really made a difference. So I would like for you to explain that to everybody here, if you would, please, sir.
Sure. Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. Yeah, that was sort of an uncomfortable situation last Commissioner Court meeting, no doubt. I was sitting in the room. I knew that there was another applicant that had put in for it, and it rolled up on the agenda item. The moment it was announced that it was my name as well as Van Vernon, that was the first instant it hit me that my board member was the applicant that put in for this. I mean, it just totally knocked me off balance.
Okay, let me clarify what you just said. Until you came into the board, to this meeting here 2 Tuesdays ago, you had no idea
None
that
whatsoever.
the other applicant was Val Vernon. Is that your deal?
That's absolutely true. And I guarantee you, if I had advanced notice that he was the other applicant, he and I would have had a discussion. I'd have given him a heads up, and we wouldn't have had that issue take place 2 weeks ago.
If Val Vernon is on the board up there, Val Vernon, who I know very well, a friend of mine, Van, close personal friend of mine like I am. Oh, Robert Massengill here, but in any event, he's actually your boss down there, or one of your bosses at AMUD, isn't he?
That's correct,
But
yes, sir.
did y'all straighten that out between the two of you? Okay, because that really did bother me about that, because I thought that you knew about it, but you're saying you didn't have any knowledge at all as to
None
who that
whatsoever.
applicant was on that. That made a big, huge difference to me when you called me up and explained that to me. So, let me ask you this. What kind of qualifications do you have? I really appreciate Mr. Lewis, being a chemical engineer, of saying this. What qualifications do you have that you think makes you being on the board beneficial to the citizens of Hood County?
Well, I think the important thing here would be my years of service in public water systems with the city of Granbury and with AMUD. I've been with the two entities for a combined, I guess, 32 years now. So I think that experience, in other words, to see that the needs that public water suppliers face and how do you address growth, infrastructure, everything that goes with it, and try to keep rates within check, try to keep it reasonable for customers. You know, being on this Groundwater District Board, I think it's important that that perspective be shared as you look at all stakeholders. You know, everyone who sits on that board, I don't think none of them have a conflict of interest, and include myself, but they're all stakeholders. We've got ranchers on board, we have engineers, we have retired public officials. I mean, we have a well driller on board. Everybody's a stakeholder, and somebody somewhere could say, hey, that's a conflict of interest. He just wants to protect what he's got. No. Just as reference was made earlier to the Watershed Protection Plan years ago when it came together, everybody across the gamut was invited to participate in the process because they had an interest in Hood County and in the environment. We're talking business, government, you name it. It's the same with this Upper Trinity Groundwater Board. We need varied representation so that when something hits and saying, hey, you know, should we be addressing this, there's somebody in the room that can say, well, this is my experience, or this is what my perspective, and then versus this other's perspective. You know, I'm bringing the public water suppliers' interest into the picture. And I'll tell you right now, we've got a master plan that addresses our needs through 2070, and not one item of it has to do with water wells. That being said, we still need to make sure that we're able to transition to a situation where we can afford to get there and eventually not be on wells. That's part of the intention of the Upper Trinity, is to say, hey, look at the needs. Let's make sure there's water available for future generations. The only people we can regulate are surface water suppliers. Well, my job is to make sure that that's not unfairly carried out in too soon of a matter. We need to give public water suppliers that have an opportunity to go to surface alternative to be able to do so. These are reasons that I've wanted to be on the board, why I participated in the process, and I'm proud of the work the entire board's done. I think right now we have permanent rules in place. Certainly, it was via compromise, and we had some great discussions and debates back in the day, but the bottom line is we can feel comfortable enough with where we're at in terms of regulations, both on public water supplier and commercial side, the fee payer, so to speak, versus exempt well owners. We've got regulations in place that's at least going to allow us to gather more data, keep monitoring levels, and see what's happening to the aquifer, because we want to make sure that in 2080 we hit desired future conditions and the bottom hasn't dropped out and we've got exempt well owners going dry. That's critical, and that's all part of the process. And certainly I want to keep participating in that process as well. I mean, there's no one side versus the other. We're trying to see how can we bring all these issues together, you know, basically keep the tap within water, whether it's exempt on-site well owner or whether it's a public water supplier. A lot of issues to work through, and that's why I'm certainly glad that I've been able to participate in the process the last 8 years, and why I'd like to put in another 4 if I could. One other just slight clarification I want to make, you know, when you're talking about the conflict of interest, and I abstained from an action previously when I filed that conflict, that's because the item in consideration was Acting Municipal Utilities District request for a historic use permit. I was involved with putting that historic use permit application together. I certainly cannot debate and vote one way or the other as a board member of Upper Trinity. That's why I stepped aside, had nothing to do with the conversation whatsoever. So I just want to make that clear. Whenever you're talking about what do we do to surface water suppliers, and I give my perspective on what they need, that is not a conflict of interest. That's input from a stakeholder, which I welcome for ranchers, anybody else, exempt well owners. You bet. I'm there. We welcome all the perspectives, and we need all of them. And that's my position, Judge.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that explanation. Okay.
I know you're looking for a second, and I don't know if this is the right order, but just going back to the actual agenda item, we tabled this agenda item. It was on court last time, and we didn't table it so that we could go out and find more applicants. We tabled it because we didn't know for sure what Mr. English said about the qualifications of Mr. Van Vernon. We asked our county attorney, and he says, give me 30 minutes. Well, we didn't have 30 minutes, so we tabled it not to go out and get more applicants. We had plenty of applicants. We closed the application, we had it open, we closed it, had 2 applicants. When we come up here to vote on it, when it came and was identified that Van wasn't qualified, well, we didn't know that for sure, and neither could our attorney tell us that. That's the reason we tabled it. I just want to make sure that was clear, why we tabled the motion, or tabled the choosing an advisory board member for the Upper Trinity. That's all I got.
Okay. Does anybody have any further discussion about
I got a couple, just quickly, before, is anybody going to second that, by the way?
I think I'll second it. I do see a potential conflict here between AMUD and individual well drillers with the property restrictions and things that Upper Trinity can bring to bear there. I think that there is a potential conflict of interest there, and it's,
Well, and I just wanted to point out that you got a history teacher on the board, you got a divorce attorney on the board, you got a newspaper publisher from a small town on the board, you got a hay farmer on the board, you got a civil engineer on the board, you do have a well driller on the board. So it's a diverse group of people. And I'm not, with my motion, I'm not saying that Richard English is not going to be chosen. All I'm asking is we've gotten another application in. We only had 2 to begin with on a short period, on a short fuse. And so my motion was to extend it 10 days, and I got a second. It's not, that's it.
I have some discussion I want to say. I don't recall anybody on a voluntary board where we have extended the period out of the application date. I do seem to recall that a head of a department, if a head of a department tries to hire somebody to do a job and an applicant does not apply that has the proper qualifications, we have extended the deadline because that's somebody that we're hiring or the county's hiring to do a job. And this qualifications have certain qualifications have got to be met. This is a volunteer board with diverse, like has been pointed out, a lot of diverse, from history teachers to divorce lawyers to whomever on the board. And what I'm saying is that if you have a deadline to meet, whatever it is, from April 28th to May 25th or whatever it is, and you have a deadline, then the deadline should mean something. If you have somebody that applies, you shouldn't have to go back out and then try to solicit somebody to run. I don't know the individual that has made the application. I just thought I couldn't even tell you his name. But if you have a deadline, it's got to mean something, because if it doesn't, then every time you don't like the applicants or whatever, you don't think it on a volunteer board. If you want to serve on a volunteer board, you should be watching for it, and you should make your application to go ahead and serve it. That's what I think. It's different than a job application. You're trying to get a livelihood. This is a volunteer board. If you wanted to serve, you should have made the application within the allocated time for deadlines to meet something. This may come back to bite us again, because every time we have something here, we have a tendency for this court to come back and say, well, it's been done in the past. That's a bad precedent. If you have a rule, hey, you got a certain deadline to apply for a position on a voluntary board. You should stick to that deadline, is what my opinion is, if you have applicants, and we do have applicants. And I really kind of had a little heartburn towards Mr. English about the way this happened, but after he's explained it to me that he didn't know that it was Van Vernon who was the other applicant, and then they seemed to understand it wasn't, that that's it. But anyway, we got a motion.
I've got one, before you go then, I got one example we can kind of relate to. I hate to talk about it, but it's the Library Advisory Board. We went through that last year. We was COVID. We waited until, I don't know when it finally came out, but we went out for applications for the Library Advisory Board, and then when it come to the court, I didn't have enough people putting in an application for my precinct that I could pick from, as we were supposed to each get 3, because it didn't have enough applicants that applied. And I thought, well, gee, I should go out and try to, now that I see that, I should go out and try to find some. And I said, well, no, that's really breaking our rules. So we've had a deadline set that you put your application in if you wanted to serve on the Library Advisory Board, and I didn't get an application. So I voted on someone who was not in my precinct. I hate to bring up the Library Advisory Board, but I was going to use that as an example of where we had a volunteer board and we stuck. And so I'm with you, Judge. If you start making exceptions, then you're going to have exceptions. And I don't think we've done it in the past. So that's all I got to say, too.
All right, so we have a motion to extend the deadline to Friday, July 18th, 2021 at 4 p.m. to receive applications for board member to serve on the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District, made by Commissioner Eagles, second by Commissioner Andrews. I'm assuming there's no further discussion, so I call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Motion fails by a vote of 3-2. Okay, that brings us to item number 6 then. Discuss and take appropriate action to appoint a board member to serve a 4-year term on the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District.
You got anybody to speak on it, Judge?
Well, has anybody felt, if y'all knew how many papers I have up here, I've got more papers than, I need a secretary with me. I'm going to get my paralegal to come up here.
That's a number D6. I do not see a D6. So.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. So does any commissioner wish to have any discussion about appointing a board member to the, or wish to make a motion?
Judge, if there's no discussion, I'll just, we can get into discussion, but the motion, the agenda item is discuss and take appropriate action to appoint a board member to serve as a 4-year term. And seeing as how we only have one applicant that's qualified, I will make the motion to appoint Richard English to serve a 4-year term on the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Second by Commissioner Andrews. Okay. All those in favor of Richard English serving a 4-year term on the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations, Mr. English.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, Item number 7, authorize the county judge to sign and approve the final contract with Tyler Technologies. Okay, I do know that we have got people that want to speak
D7.
on this, on D7. We got 1, 2, we got 3. The first one is Mr. Dub Gillum.
Since I'm not a public citizen, an elected official, may I have professional courtesy to stop the time clock? I'm not going to speak more than 5 or 6 minutes, but I don't think what I have to say will take the allotted time.
Let's see what you got.
I've heard a lot of good information today that hadn't applied to our certain situation. First of all, I respect each and every one of you gentlemen and the job you have to do. I was elected to run Justice of the Peace Precinct 4 office to the best of my ability, and I have dived deep into the operations of that office. And so I haven't seen a contingency of qualified people that made the correct decision to change all offices, with the exception of the Sheriff's Department, to Tyler Technologies. I have mounds of frustration by unanswered questions, incomplete answers, and answers that are all over the board. I'll ask 3 different people, get 3 different answers as to like the bidding process for this. I asked the county judge's office, I asked the purchasing office, and I asked the auditor, and I got 3 different answers. So it's frustrating when I can't get a complete answer. I do inquest as a JP. What is Tyler going to do for my inquest? Because net data reports them, I fill in my inquest, and they report them to OCA. Tyler doesn't do it. Can anyone answer that question, please, for me? Tyler said, oh, well, we can set something up for you. What about our collections? Our collections, Tyler does none of that. Who's going to call Omni? Who's going to call the state? Who's going to do the non-violator compact state? Who's going to send out postcards? We're going to have to hire a new collection agency. My office is being turned upside down. I'm going to go ahead and just read my notes because I'll be up here all day. We have to set up a new collection agency. What is that going to cost the county? What is the cost of this contract? I get 1.7, 1.5, 1.4. Are we going to have to hire people, specialists, to come in and help us transfer our data? When is the JPs going to be converted? On a hierarchy scale from district judge to district court to county court at law, county attorney, JP and constables, when after the contract are we going to be converted? Usually, from the opinion I get, we're last on the totem pole, so after this contract, it's going to take 2 to 3 years to maybe see the end of all this conversion. The JPs do a great job at running our office. I respect each and one of you gentlemen in the job you do, and it's very difficult. I use the financial, of our budget. Y'all have the deer in the headlight look, just like I do, because you got to go the whole county. I just have mine, my particular, and I'm best to run my office, so I know what works best for my office. And I've asked you for professional courtesy to simply meet with us. We were asked, and we were told, we have asked multiple times to have a workshop after the report that was done, the independent report was done, so we could all discuss it and have the input of elected officials, because we know what best runs for our office. We've tried to explain how it's going to substantially impact our office so much that it hurts the county in revenue. My office does an outstanding job in revenue, as does all the JPs. Every month, a couple months ago, $48,000. This is going to substantially affect that and reduce those numbers over a 1, 2, or 3 year period. How do you know what's best for our daily activity and reporting? I've asked each and every one of you, and most of you have been to my office, but I'd ask you to sit for a whole day and watch what our clerks actually do. My whole office revolves around our software and what we do. And I've been told, do it for the good of the county. Well, the good of the county, well, what does that mean? Well, it's cost effective if we jump on board now instead of down the road. Well, the money that I've seen this Commissioner's Court spending lately, that doesn't hold water, but give me a fact, give me a figure. What's best for the county? I know what's best for my JP office and the best for the citizens of this county, but my input wasn't needed. We didn't have our workshop. Professional courtesy is what I simply, and 3 other elected officials, our county clerk and 2 other JPs that want to stay with net data, because switching to Tyler will not improve our office one bit, in my opinion. We do an outstanding job. You got the report earlier from auditing. Not one thing. And I'll stake my job every day on my clerks. You'll never find anything wrong with my office. It'll be perfect almost every time. A mandate will greatly affect this, and that's what this is. I have way too many notes here. Tyler's not perfect. They have their problems. Everyone does. They were ransomed. They had to pay ransomware to get their whole system back. Tyler is a $13 billion company. We're a small county. I've been told by the county judge and the county commissioner that they've asked the Tyler rep to contact me. I had my first meeting with her today. I asked her why hadn't she ever contacted me, because I've been told multiple times by people on this court, you have asked her to contact me, because I want to know, I want to be sold on Odyssey. I asked her today why she didn't call me. No one's ever told me. Judge, you've said several times to Tyler, and you've told us this, we're your friends. We're across the hall. You want them to treat us well, to help us. And I appreciate that. But have you treated us that way as friends? Have you come in and sat the whole day to look, this is going to upset my whole office and 2 other JP offices. If we wanted this software, we would have asked for it to make us better, to make more money, to be more efficient, be more proficient. It doesn't. You had the option in this report to leave the Sheriff's Department, which the reason they're not going is because it would cost $3 to $7 million to transfer all the data that's with net data before Spillman came in 09, and that's just not reasonable. It would take too many specialists to come in to convert all that information. There's a lot of reasons I have that haven't been answered, that would have simply been answered, especially by the ladies who also requested a workshop so we could discuss this, air it out, do our point, counterpoint, professional courtesy to an elected official that's trying to do the best that he could do and sees how his office is operating and doing a great job. Do what's best for the county. We'll do what's best for all of us. In that report says 6, maybe 7 times, everybody needs to go to Tyler except the JPs. They have Tyler Icon, and that is best for them. I just ask for a little bit of consideration and time. I hear we table things all the time. We've been dealing with this for years, and I'm sorry, before my time, because it's a difficult issue. It's an expensive issue. And we should, all I'm asking for is a couple more weeks or months to have this workshop. Maybe we can have our feathers that have been ruffled combed over. All I want is an explanation, professional courtesy. So, Commissioner Wilson, you made a promise to me 3 weeks ago we would have the workshop, and I made a promise to you I'd back off my legal avenues. I asked you every week, is the meeting going to be set up? You said you're working on it, you're working on it, you're working on it. And then this comes up on the agenda, you're going to vote for it. I've asked, I've pleaded, I've begged, please let me be heard. Let me tell you the facts. We talked about e-file. That's been a mess. And Tyler agrees with me. And you say you call the JP office in Cleveland, and, oh, it's all fine with him, so your infinite wisdom, you know what's best. But all we asked was for a little respect and time. And you broke your promise to me. Every time I asked you in the past 3 weeks, are you setting up the meeting? I'm working on it, I'm working on it. So you've lied to me, and your word is worth nothing. And I don't appreciate that, and I'll call it out every time. Honesty and integrity is all I'm asking for. And you've told me multiple times you didn't ask for this job. You said you had too many friends wanting you to have it. I want someone in here that wants this job and that's willing to work. You need to reconsider your position or resign. I'm passionate about my job and what I'm doing and doing the best I can. And all I want is for you to act like Johnny that we heard instead of the other little boy and work with us. I apologize, I'm so passionate about this. and thank you for letting me go beyond my 5 minutes. Politics is the art of compromise, give and take. We're all conservative Republicans up here. It's not like I'm a liberal Democrat and you're just not going to let me have it. We should work better together. Y'all do a great job, but in this instance, you failed. And you had the opportunity to make it right and just let the JPs and go down 2 more years. Let Kathy Gwynn, I want her to have what she wants. I want the constables to have what they want. It's good for them, but not for everybody. I love you, Jack. I'll leave it with that. Don't take this personally, and Judge. I want to work with every one of you, but I want to work with you, please. Thank you, gentlemen.
Respond to one thing that you said.
Yes, sir.
When Denise came to talk to me, and she was upset, first of all, I've instructed my staff that whenever Denise or Lisa had any question about any problem at all, that they were to help them. And that's been done not some of the time, but every time. Secondly, when she was talking about it was the e-file system, I told them, I do not know anybody who works with Tyler e-file, except that I know that Tyler e-file has the system for the contract for the entire state of Texas. So everybody at some point, JP's included, will be on the e-file system. Dallas has had it for the past 3 or 4 years. I did tell Denise, and she was in my office when I said, I will call Sherry Remington, who has nothing to do with e-file. That's not her department, has nothing to do about us voting on switching from net data to Tyler Odyssey. But I will call Sherry and see if she can contact somebody in the e-file department to call back and try to help your staff, Lisa and Denise. And did I make that phone call to you, Sherry? Correct. I'm going to let you come up and respond to some of this. I did. I said, it's totally different. E-file has nothing to do with Tyler Odyssey. That's totally different softwares. But I said, see if you can make a call to see if there's somebody in the e-file department that can help your department. So I take issue with you when you said that I broke my promise to you or your staff. I did exactly what I said that I would do, and that's try to get help by calling Sherry Remington with Tyler to see if she could get somebody in the e-file system. Not in Tyler Odyssey. It wasn't a Tyler Odyssey problem that they were having. It was the e-file system. And that's what I did. So I just wanted to make that.
That's clear.
Correct.
You're absolutely correct. I didn't understand that. When I asked Sherry earlier why she had never called me, she said she wasn't told to. So
that's right.
E-file is just a system, and if you understand their business process, e-file has not been mandated upon JPs, and that is an issue with OCA. And by the way, there's no one at OCA over e-file. That person has left, so I've been discussing with them. But what I was getting to is the Tyler support was lacking in that, and that's due to several people. But you also made the statement, several of you were in my office, that you wanted us to keep the system that works best for us. And you have also said you don't want to tell people how to run their office or what software to use, but you're doing it. So what's best for the county, we're doing it. We're going to, it's a done deal. I've asked you even up until yesterday, and both you and Commissioner Wilson and yourself said, this is a done deal, it's over it, get over it, and let's move on. So I will, and we're going to do the best of our ability over the next 1, 2, 3 years to convert and to do what's best for this county, but it's going to turn us upside down in the process.
So,
anything else?
Okay, nope, that's fine. All right, the next speaker was Sherry Remington. Ms. Remington, can you address some of the statements that were made by Judge Gillum?
Absolutely, Judge. So again, I want to thank you guys for letting me come in here and address the court and meet with you, and the opportunity for Tyler to partner with you. Some of the things that he mentioned regarding the JP functionality within Odyssey are inaccurate. We do have collections within our system. That is something that we handle. Now, it is handled a little bit differently than how the NetData system handles collections, but we do process collections. We do the Omni reporting. We've also been in discussions with Linebarger, who is an agency that you already use, and they work with us on our collections. They already work with many of our clients across the state of Texas, and they'll be deeply involved as well with the JP offices. As far as the conversion and getting the systems up and running, this is a 12 to 13-month project. It's not 2 to 3 years. And this project is what we call a big bang project. So everybody goes live at one time. It's not that we're going to start at the county clerk and work our way down. Everybody is being worked on at the same time. We pull all of the data from your current systems at the same time and convert it all at once. So there's not a hierarchy of offices here. All of the JPs, county clerk, district attorney, county attorney, all will be happening at once. And this, like I said, it is a 12 to 13-month project. We have the conversion engineers on our side that convert that data. They work alongside your team, your IT team, and they will work also with NetData to get that information from the systems. And so it is a joint effort in that. Any other questions?
I just got one, just for argumento. If we bump this 2 weeks, signing the contract, does that have any major impact on what the agreement at all?
It wouldn't change the agreement. The agreement, I mean, I don't think there would be any changes in there as it stands right now. I think the only thing that would affect is the timing of your project start, as we have teams that are waiting to be allocated to the project.
So 12 to 13 months plus 2 weeks?
Correct.
Thank you.
You say you already have teams allocated to come to Hood County? Is that...
We have teams that are waiting to be assigned to the project. We don't officially assign teams until we have a signed contract in hand. And so at this point in time, they're kind of there. We have the projection that they will be assigned, but right now they are currently just waiting.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. Thank you very much. I don't have anything else unless any other commissioner has something.
Was there somebody else speaking on this?
No, yes, oh, yes. And I'm getting ready to call, but I'm...
All right.
Thank you.
I'm waiting for... Come on down here, Miss Sealander.
I thought maybe.
Timing, I'm going to say one other thing, Judge Gillum, too, on the deal, is that in the timing of all of this, when we waited to get that report, the report that we got that was ramrodded really by Ms. Sealander and Ms. Samuelson, and I've said this time and time again, and I'll say it one more time here, was an excellent report. They did a tremendous amount of work, a lot more than I expected. Contacted so many individuals on here that they were known as Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid to me when they'd come in here and talk everybody. There was at one time, and I don't mind saying this, that I asked Sherry Remington to do the analysis for Tyler, leaving out the 4 JPs. I did ask that, and that was done. And that's where I was leaning at that time, is to let everybody in the county go to Tyler, but for the 4 JPs, and that was done. And I don't think there's any misunderstanding about that I wanted that to happen. But after the report, and then after talking to everybody else, and after the matrix came in where it was, what, 19 to 70, that changed my whole perspective. And I'm big enough to say that when you give me new information on the hard work that this citizen committee did, this delayed it another, what is it, what did y'all work, 60, 90 days? Something like that. We were kind of ready to go at one time, and had I voted back then, I would have probably voted to keep the JPs running on that data and the rest of the county switch it. But after, with all the other situations when we're talking about not having a contract, the fact that I3 bought that data and didn't let us know about it for 2 years, that was really important. And these ladies, you know, we found out a lot of stuff about that. That really changed my mind, and I gave it, and I always will make, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to always make the decision what's best for all of Hood County. That's what I'm going to do, what's best for all of Hood County. And I will say this, that I commend that report because that swayed me more than anything else. There's a lot of information in there. And when you have the fact that a big conglomerate like I3 buys a company and you don't know where that data's going to be, that was huge to me. So taking it as a whole, that's what convinced me. So, Ms. Sheelander, you have the floor. You may speak after she does.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you, and that is excellent. I've learned more right now than that could share it. So it's called communication. And
Okay.
all I'm saying is, this little workshop, you could have explained all this to me, and I wouldn't be this frustrated today. So I agree with you.
Well, I hope you're a little less frustrated then because
I'll get over it.
okay.
I'm a big boy.
All right. Okay. All right. Ms. Sheelander.
Well, I just had a couple of points to make, because as I've listened to people speak and try to assess this, I think one of the big sticking points was the fact that the sheriff's office was not included. Well, as we went through our research, what we found was that the sheriff's department uses Spillman. They're not necessarily on net data. They use them then to compile their reports and stuff. But for their actual work, most of it's done on a software called Spillman. And net data had promised the sheriff's office for years that they would do a bridge so that they could just use Spillman and bring it into the reports. They had never done that, so the sheriff's department was doing double entry. Tyler has offered, as we go down the road, if we want to bring the sheriff's department in, they have a toolkit that Drew can use to make that bridge. So that was one of the things about the sheriffs. I want to make clear they weren't on net data, they're on Spillman, and so that's why they were not considered by Tyler. I wanted to say, when Nanette and I first started this project, we really started as a citizen to show that the county didn't need to spend 1.5 or 1.2 million or whatever it was, that we wanted to show that net data would be okay and we could continue on and we wouldn't have this. But as we got into it, and the deeper we got into it, as you said, you know, when you get into it and you start looking at functionality, you start looking at service, you start looking at how the company is ran and that, and their plans for the future, there was only one way we could go. And so I just wanted to make those things clear that that's our research too. Icon that the JPs had, net data, is a great product. I think that's the only product net data has that was worth. You're looking at 2021 technology, Tyler, versus 1990 technology, net data. Oops. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sheelander. Okay. All right. I have no other speakers on this unless I've got you somewhere in here, but I don't think so. So with that, do I hear a motion?
I would like, can I throw in there just,
Well, sure.
This was 97 pages. I got this thing Friday. I've been dealing with flooding all over the place. I've been out talking to people. I have not had a chance to look through this contract. One of the things, or some of the things that that Nanette and Sharon put forth were some ideas to negotiate into that contract. I don't know if these things have even been done. I've made it through about 15 pages of that contract, and that was it. Personally, I can't, in good conscience, vote to accept this contract. Like I said, I haven't even read it. I just wanted to throw that out there.
County attorney has read it. and read it. I read most of it, specifically the areas. The contract is based on milestone events and milestone payments with penalty clauses at the failure to meet those milestones. That's been confirmed by the county attorney, and and looking at that. So they seem to be he seems to be quite confident that the package is good to go.
Well, and I mean, I'm sure from
what I've read so far, because I specifically looked at those areas, for the milestones, for the payments, and then the penalty clauses, because I cautioned, Matt, early on when he told me he was starting to read it, make sure that those specific points are there, and he's confirmed that yes, they are.
But are they advantageous to us? That's the thing that I was questioning is, did we incorporate some of these recommendations of the committee into those contracts? Not necessarily the legal verb. And I understand that there were a few cautionary things that they wanted to see put into there and looked at. One of the things they had talked about was waiting the downtime, because I did the math on that. We run as county, the county employees mostly run this thing at about 25% of the actual time in a day, and it's weighted the same whether it goes down at 11 o'clock in the afternoon as if it's taken down for maintenance at 2 o'clock in the morning. Some of those considerations were little things that they had asked us to look at and consider with that contract. And like I said, I'm not opposed to the contract. I've just been so covered up, I haven't had a chance to look at it.
And I got to add, I got to chime in on this too. I hate to admit this and confess, but I haven't had a chance to, I have no doubt that Mr. Wilson has thoroughly reviewed this, and the county attorney's job usually on a contract is to make sure that it's correct in form, and but he's not here today. And and so form is different than substance. So I just hadn't had a chance to completely review this contract myself, so it's going to be hard for me to vote yes today. And I have discussed this with Ms. Shelander and Nanette, and I think they kind of thought we were going to have some kind of a workshop before we took this to vote. But anyway, that's just where I'm at today. It's nothing against the contract or anything else. I just hadn't had a chance to look at, to completely absorb it.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to authorize the county judge to sign and approve the final contract with Tyler Technologies.
I hear a second.
Second.
A motion been made and second for the county judge to approve the contract with Tyler Odyssey, made by Commissioner Wilson, second by Commissioner Cotton. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay for reasons cited.
Okay. Motion carries 3-2. That brings us to the next, which is the last item. Consider and take appropriate action to award a contract for RFB 2021-008 hot mix coal asphaltic. Not asphalt? That's a new word there.
Asphaltic concrete.
Guys, okay.
It's a new one to me, too.
New word here today. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. So the bids for the hot mix cold lay asphaltic concrete, RFB 2021-8, were open June 1st at 10 a.m. in the purchasing department. Now, this recommendation is based mainly on plant location, because this is a product that we pick up in county trucks from the location. We had two bidders. One plant was located 30.5 miles down a rural road from our facility. The other plant is located 51.6 miles away on the far side of Fort Worth. And so pursuant to Local Government Code 262.027E, is the recommendation of purchasing and road ops to award the contract to Vulcan Materials as a primary vendor and to Sustainable Pavement Technologies as an alternate vendor.
Okay, you know one thing I couldn't understand? I understand the 36 miles versus the 50 miles, but the difference in cost, like 50 cents versus 72 cents, but it still makes sense. I don't argue with I don't want to do any more asphalt. I did that for a while when I was a kid, like 15 years old. That was 30 years ago or so, But is it still a better deal to pay a little bit more for the convenience of being closer? Is that what you're saying, Don?
The one that we're wanting to put as an alternate bid.
Yes.
Even their engineers labeled it as an alternate product. What they do in this one, they actually mix in roof shingles, shredded roof shingles.
All right.
But we did want to include it as an alternate product so that if we have the chance to look at it and maybe analyze the product as well.
Okay.
But the primary reason is, driving county dump trucks through downtown Fort Worth every week versus.
Well, and you haven't tried this new product, so you wouldn't want to take that contract, start putting it around, and then didn't like it.
No, sir.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it does give us the option to try
I knew
it.
that you'd set me straight here. I just had that question. Okay. All right. So do I hear a motion?
Yes, I will make a motion to award a contract for RFB 2021-008 hot mix cold lay asphaltic concrete.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion been made by Commissioner Cotton to award said contract, first stated. Second by Commissioner Andrews. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude this meeting.